there are three different levels of consciousness. Three dynamic states of consciousness. Three dynamic states of consciousness. There is an initial state of consciousness that is called Ibur. Ibur. There's another state that's higher than that that's called Yenika. And the highest state, which is called Gadlus or Mochin. Okay? Now, what do these three different dynamic states mean? There's a state of called Yenika, Ibur, Yenika, and Gadlus. So if you think of like a child, a baby, what does Ibur mean? Ibur means in the womb. What's that called when somebody's in the womb?
In utero?
Gestation.
Gestation, in utero. When they're not born yet. They're not born yet. That's called Ibur. Ibur means the pregnant state. Okay, when the baby is in the pregnant state.
The fetus?
When the fetus is inside of the womb. That's called Ibur. That's one level of consciousness. I'll explain what that is in a second, just to kind of get the terms down. So that's called Ibur. It's the initial state. And then after that, Mazel Tov, baby's born. Baby's born. And then it's in a state of Katnus. What is Katnus?
What is that?
It means in a state of immaturity, smallness. It's small. It's growing up. It's in a state of growth. Katan means small. So it's in a state of Katnus, which means it is in a childlike state. Mm-hmm. And then finally, when it grows up, when it reaches the age of 13, that is when now he is considered to be Gadol. Gadol means big, but Kabbalistically speaking, we mean in that higher mental state, in an adult state. So basically you have three levels. One is the womb state, pregnancy. And then you have the child, and then you have the adult.
Wait, is the second one called Yenika?
Yenika. Yeah, what does Yenika mean?
Where there's Katnus.
So there's the different terms, they mean the same thing.
Okay.
Ibur, which is the initial state. And then you have the second state, which is either called Katnus or Yenika.
Oh, okay.
What does Yenika mean? Yenika literally means to nursing, suckling. Right? Linok literally means it's feeding from the mother's milk. Okay? Meaning it's in a state of Katnus. So Katnus, childlike state, and Yenika, they're synonymous.
Gotcha.
Meaning that they're still dependent on the mother, dependent on the parent. Mm-hmm. And then finally, when they reach the state of Gadlus, which is that adult state, now they are not dependent on the parents. They are their own independent being. Consciously speaking, what does that mean? What does that mean? If you think of these three states as different levels of awareness, different levels of awareness.
Did you say the last one was Gadol?
In Kabbalah, it's called Gadlus.
Gadlus.
Yeah, or you can say Mochin de Gadlus. Mochin de Gadlus, or Mochin de Katnus, or Mochin de Ibur. What does the word Mochin mean? Brains. Moach means brains in Hebrew, but Mochin is a Kabbalistic term that the best way I would say it really means mental energy. Mental energy, mental state of consciousness. Mochin. And so you have a mochin of pregnancy. You can be in a pregnancy state of consciousness. You can be in a childlike state of consciousness, and you can also be in a adult state of consciousness. So what does Ibur mean? Ibur is a place of total non-awareness. Total non-awareness. Meaning that the person is completely in a state of dependency, meaning that their awareness is completely out the window. That they're in a state of not able to they're not in a state of growth. We'll call it that. I know physically, right, that the baby does grow in pregnancy, but pregnancy means that it's not really, hasn't even come into the world yet. It has not even begun its growth process. That it means in a total state of non-awareness. Mochin de ibur literally means in a state of total egoness. What?
Egotistic?
Total egotistical self. But then there's the next level, which is called mochin de katnus, a childlike state, but it's also called mochin de yinika. Why? Because now there is growth. There is growth. It is beginning the process of transformation, of coming out of a egotistical state into a state of selflessness. How does that process take place? Well, the child, where does he feed from? Where does he get his energy from? From his mother. It's yinika. He's nursing from his mother. Kabbalistically speaking, who is the mother? The mother is called Bina. Ima, she's called Bina. And what does that mean? Bina, the sphere of Bina, who's also called the mother, comes from the root of understanding, contemplation, learning. How does a person go from a process of egotistical selfishness to a process of selflessness? How does that process go? So a process must begin to learn and understand what is actually happening to him and what is happening in the world. And so that's Kabbalistically saying that he is in a state of yinika from his mother. He's nursing from his mother. That he's connected to the Ima. That means he's using his mind to be able to understand the futility of his selfishness and his selfish behavior. And he wants to grow. So that's called a state of katnus. He's still a child. He's still struggling with his ego. He's still struggling with his own selfish desires. But he's on the right track. He's growing. He's growing. Okay? And then finally, he's able to reach a level called mochin de gadlut. What is mochin de gadlut? Mochin de gadlut is now when he is an adult, he does not need his parents anymore, meaning he does not need to continuously meditate and contemplate over the fact that he should not remain in a state of total selfishness and egoism, but now he is truly free. He has really attained the level of selflessness. Okay? So there's the level of Ibur, level of Katnus, and the level of Gadlus. Okay? When you see two little kids fighting over a 30-cent piece of plastic made in China, and they're willing to beat each other up senselessly over this 30-cent piece of plastic, okay?
It's not plastic, man. It's what it represents.
That's what it represents. What it represents mochin de katnus. It's my toy. It's mine. It's mine. Okay, that is the epitome of mochin de katnus. Consciousness of ego. And it does not matter what the physical age is. You can have two 4-year-olds fighting over a 30-cent piece of plastic, or you can have two 40-year-olds fighting over a $1,000 piece of plastic. Doesn't matter what the monetary value of the thing is. They say people stay the same. That's just the toys get more expensive.
Can you give an example of Mochin de Ibur?
Mochin de Ibur just means I'm not even aware of what I'm doing. I'm not even aware of what I'm doing.
Like just little unconscious things you do, or like what you're
Yeah, we're just totally unconscious. When you're saying mochin de katnus, I know I shouldn't be getting mad at that person. I know I shouldn't be doing this. But it's just
self-conscious about it.
So yeah, I'm conscious about it.
So Ibur is kind of like you're in the dark.
You're in the dark. You're total darkness, and that's really representative of a womb. It means you're not really. You don't have kind of conscious. You're not aware. There's no choice. You're just in a total state of like you're just
Possessed.
I don't know, possessed. But the idea is that you're not aware of what you're doing.
Going through your emotions
Right.
after your...
Is that when you get into a fight, there's a part of your consciousness is like, wow, I probably shouldn't be saying that. I probably shouldn't be doing that. But you do it anyway. That's called mochin de katnus. And then finally, when you attain the level of mochin de gadlut, where you are a total master of your mind, master of your emotion. Where if somebody takes your pencil or whatever it is,
Laptop.
okay?
A little more practical, sorry.
A little more practical, fine. Somebody takes your laptop, you know, and they're just like using it, like, you're not gonna get mad. Okay, hey, you shouldn't have done that, buddy. But you have a level of self-mastery. You're not gonna let your egotistical and selfish emotions get the best of you. That's called mochin de gadlus. That's the ideal state that we want to be in. The Alter Rebbe says, what were we?
What is Mochin de Gadlus again?
Mochin de gadlus means in a state of total self-mastery. Total self-awareness. How do you attain a level of self-mastery? How do you totally dissolve the ego? When you come to the realization that there is nothing but Hashem, that everything is a projection from Hashem. And the reason he took your laptop is because Hashem wanted to test you to see if you would remain in that state of conscious awareness.
So where are you at that?
So I'm gonna have compassion of him that unfortunately Hashem had to use this guy and that he did not do the right thing, but still, as far as I'm concerned, it is ridiculous to get angry at that person. Because this scenario has been totally projected by Hashem to see how am I going to react to the situation. The fact that he didn't do the right thing, that's a different story. That's his thing. But as far as I'm concerned, this was a test for me to see would I remain in that state of conscious awareness or would there be something called histalkus amochin. What's called histalkus amochin? Histalkus literally means when the mochin just flies away. Or today you would say when you lose your head. When you lose your head. You could just been in a total state of higher conscious awareness. Wow, Einod Milvado, Hashem is everywhere. I love Hashem, I love Torah, I love the Jewish people. But then you look over, you see somebody's touching your computer. What are you doing? That's called Istalkus Amochin. You lost your head. Your mental conscious awareness just totally flew out the window. That's called when the Das is in Galus, when the Das is in exile.
And it wasn't real to begin with.
I don't know if it was real or not real, but the point is it was a temporary state. And the Alter Rebbe says, the Jewish people, the collective conscious level of the Jewish people in Egypt, in Mitzrayim, was in a state of mochin de katnus. Mochin de katnus. Okay? Pain and suffering can only exist in a state of mochin de katnus. Because when a person is in a state of total revelation of Hashem's light, then a person does not feel pain and suffering anymore. Because pain is a subjective state. It's a subjective state.
What does that mean?
What?
Mochin de katnus?
Mochin de katnus means in a state of constricted consciousness, small consciousness, childlike consciousness, where ego and self are the primary identity. I feel myself. And then now I am feeling like this or like that, but I feel myself. And so the Jewish people in Egypt were in a state of mochin de katnus. Egypt, what does Egypt mean? Mitzrayim literally means a place of constriction. A place, it doesn't mean slavery. What it literally means, Meitzarim, literally means a place of constriction. Mitzrayim is a state of constricted consciousness. When you are enslaved to your ego. That ego consciousness is what I am experiencing. I am enslaved, I'm trapped, I am limited, I'm constricted into a state of ego consciousness. I perceive the world through the eyes of the self. That's called Egypt. And so we have to elevate ourselves out of Egypt. That's when we come out of Egypt, we are freeing ourselves, we are liberating ourselves from the state of ego and selfishness. That I'm able to transcend the selfishness and to be able to align myself with the supernal will. I elevate myself to that higher will. What's that called? That's called Israel. That's called Israel. What does Israel mean? Israel means a place of... Come on, who saw the video? You made a great video about this. What does Israel mean? Israel means a place of conquering, a place of triumph, a place of what? Sarut, which means a place of triumph, a place of victory, of control, of strength. Every single character in the Torah, they were given a name, and the reason that they were given a name is because the name represents the essence of that thing. Who is Israel, the character of Israel? What? Yaakov.
The guy who defeated an angel.
Yaakov, that after he's sojourning in the land of Lavan, in the land of his uncle's house for 20 years, he's now coming home. Epic reunion, epic battle, confrontation between Yaakov and Esav. I got a good one about that too. And before he meets Esav in this epic confrontation, Yaakov and his brother, he fights with the angel at night, and he wins the angel. He conquers. He overcomes the angel. And God says, from now on you shall no longer be called Yaakov, you shall be called Israel. Why? Ki sarita im Elohim v'anashim v'tuchal. Because you struggled with God and with man, and you overcame. The meaning of the word Israel literally means to overcome. Spiritual challenges, physical challenges. But it means to overcome. So if Mitzrayim is a place of total enslavement, Israel is a state of total liberation, total freedom. Mochin de katnus, mochin de gadlus. You guys with me? So the Alter Rebbe says, so in Egypt, we were in a state of mochin de katnus. We were in a state of mochin de katnus. Constricted consciousness, limited consciousness, where we are in total enslavement to the ego. And Sha'arei b'yitziat Mitzrayim hayu adayin bebechinat katnus. We were in a state in Egypt, in a state of total constriction. Meaning total state of enslavement to ego. And how could a person possibly totally do a 180 and come to a state of total transcendent nullification? It's such a huge step to come from out of Egypt to Mount Sinai, revelation of the ultimate truth of reality, to experience the infinite light itself. It's such a huge jump. Which is why we had a preparation for that experience. What is the preparation necessary from coming out of Egypt until finally receiving the Torah, meaning coming from a total state of constricted consciousness, total state of ego and selfishness, to the ultimate state of liberation, freedom, and selflessness? What kind of preparation do I need? I need 50 days of preparation. That's called Sfiras HaOmer. From the time the Jewish people came out of Egypt, they started counting 7 weeks, 49 days, and on the 50th day was Matan Torah, was the receiving of the Torah, was giving of the Torah. 7 weeks. 7 days. What does that mean? Because 7 represents the lower 7 spheres of emotion, the emotive sephirot. It represents the entire dynamic range of our emotions, and they were totally enslaved to the ego. And so now we must begin to refine and transform each one of those different emotions. 7 weeks represents each one of those emotions, 7 days, because each one has a different aspect of all the different emotions. So 49 represents total emotional transformation, total emotional liberation. And then finally on the 50th day, 50 always in Kabbalah is representative of the 50 gates of superconscious understanding. Chamishim Sha'arei Bina. And so once we've gone through that process of refinement, of transformation, now we are ready to receive the Torah. So there's a process of transformation. That's why the only holiday in the Torah that does not have a date is Shavuos, Maaseh Torah. The receiving of the Torah, it's the only holiday, biblical holiday, that does not have a date. Pesach, there's a date. Sukkot, there's a date. Yom Kippur, there's a date. The only holiday that does not have a date in the Torah is Shavuot. Why? Because it is not an independent holiday. It is totally dependent on the work that you do of coming out of Egypt. That Shavuot, receiving the Torah, is totally dependent on your ability to come out of Egypt. And so that's why it is always dependent on the exodus from Egypt, Yetziat Mitzrayim, and the Sfiras Omer. And then you will be able to receive the Torah. It is not a holiday unto itself. It is not a gift unto itself, but it necessitates spiritual transformation and personal work in that period of time. So coming out of Egypt, Sfiras Omer and Shavuot, it is essentially one holiday. It is the ultimate model of personal transformation, self-development in the Torah. So and he says, and this is the idea that we needed kind of a boost. We needed a boost to be able to come out of this state of total constricted consciousness, Egypt consciousness. What was that boost?